Did you know that the average college graduate owes more than $37,000 after graduation? And less than 54% of high school graduates heading off to four-year colleges actually graduate within 6 years. Hello, I'm Jamila Freelain, author of Free Money for College and the founder of Encouraging Words College Prep. Now, in my new book, I tackle these issues head on. It is filled with more than 50 tips, resources, programs, and college and career preparation information. My new show on the Wake Up Call radio and TV broadcasting network is an extension of that book. Each week, you will be inspired by a tremendous student or a tremendous community leader, and sometimes both. You'll also learn how to save money on college costs. So, tune in each week to get inspired and learn something new all at the same time.
Hey, welcome, and thanks for tuning in to the Encouraging Words Show. I'm your host, Jamila Freelain, and tonight's show is dedicated to those who serve in the military as well as their dependents and veterans as well. I want to thank you again for watching, and for those of you who didn't get to watch the first show, let me tell you, you really missed it. You missed a good treat, so I want you to go back and check that out. Just to kind of give you a little bit of a background, Encouraging Words, the show, is really geared towards students and parents, and it's really for those students that want to be college-bound or career-bound. And the show came about as an extension of this book, which is called Free Money for College. And the whole purpose of the book, again, is to be a resource to inspire students and parents that are college-bound or career-bound. And it's got some useful tips and some strategies, and we also help you learn how to save money. So if you want to reduce college debt, you want to pick up a copy of that book. Now, my guest today, I'm so excited. He's a mentor. He's an accomplished author. He's a great poet. He's a phenomenal speaker. He's an educator, and he is a joy to be around. His name is Sporty King. How are you doing this evening?
Doing really well.
Good,
Especially
good.
after all of those accolades. I think I left one out that I wanted
okay.
you to...
Oh, well, fill him in. Don't hold back now. Well, what we're going to do first to get things started is I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about his background and some of the different things that he does in relation to youth. Also, you want to catch his website as well. His website has some awesome videos for students and parents to take a look at as well. And he's again, a very accomplished individual. Tell me, what was your Toastmaster title? You've won a national championship or something. I'm in admiration.
International, actually.
International. Excuse me.
Hey, well,
Hey.
always keep yourself at the highest level.
That's true.
And Toastmasters is a worldwide organization to help people improve their communication skills. Every year they have a contest where you have to win at your club, area, division, district, region, and there are 9 regions in the world, and you compete for the World Championship of Public Speaking.
Wow.
So in '96, I was blessed to go to the World Championship and finish as one of the top 9 speakers in the world.
Wow. And where was this held?
It was held in St. Louis.
Okay.
They rotate the conference. It was in Canada this year.
Okay.
So yeah, they rotate the conference.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we want to jump right in here. I want those students and parents that are listening to know a little bit about what it is that you do to improve their lives and improve the community, and talk about the impact of what you do.
I think that probably the most important thing I do is that I touch children's lives by refreshing adults.
Okay.
See, sometimes we don't need to go directly to the child. We need to really look at a lot of the things that are surrounding the child's environment. I've been in my speaking business now 23 years, and you know, a lot of times you start out speaking to kids as a way to get your reputation going. And what I found is that I might go into a school and I'm pumping the kids up with a great positive message about what they can do, where they can go, and then they leave and they go home to negative parents. Or they go to a negative environment, or unsupportive environment. Not blaming parents, by the way. I think parents, have the hardest job in the world, and I think all parents are really good parents because they're doing the best they can.
Right.
However, if they don't get that same positive message, and the kid comes home with this bright, shiny, I can conquer the world, and then the parent says, well, you're just like your no good father. You're not going to be no better than your mother. And see, that type of stuff happens. So if we can refresh the parents then I think we have a better way of helping the kids, because the kids will now get that reinforcement of the message, and that's what's going to make the difference. So I really try to focus on finding as many ways as possible to refresh parents or adults as well.
Okay. And then in terms of accomplishing that goal, how then do you do that? If you're normally
I didn't drop the kids out.
Okay.
It's just that I just don't pigeonhole the focus on the kids.
Right.
Because in fact I do have a site for teens and tweens called heyugly.org.
Okay, yes.
And that's a self-esteem website for teenagers, and we're combating bullying, self-esteem, suicide, and so kids can go to that site, and again that's heyugly.org, and ugly is UGLY, unique, gifted, lovable you.
All right now.
So it's about finding a negative and turning the negative into a positive as a way of having that that right impact about who we are. And really understanding that self-esteem, it really is about self. It's really about taking care of yourself. And so as the kids can go to that site, as you mentioned on my regular site, which is sportyking.com, I've got stuff in there. We're going to talk about later what I'm doing with the military.
Yes,
and so that's another thing, because as I'm working with parents and families that are going through the deployment cycle, as I help these parents reintegrate, now I help them spread that message to their kids.
Right.
Because kids who go through the deployment, it's a really hard thing for children to go through the deployment.
For spouses as well as the children. I think people just think of the spouses typically, but the kids feel that as well.
Yeah, and in fact, it's the family. That's one of the things that we try to make sure that we don't make it spouses, because a lot of times we got a lot of single military members.
True.
And sometimes what will happen if we're having an event for them is they'll feel left out, because all of the information is going toward a spousal relationship, and we have to make it clear that a family is the support system.
That's true, because
So
they're making that sacrifice as well.
But I don't let them off the hook.
Okay.
I tell them, I say, look, you can't wait till you get married to start thinking about being married.
Right.
You have to get married mentally before you get married on a piece of paper. So as we try to help the single service members, and note again that word service members, not soldiers, not airmen, because it's different services. So as we try to use the right terminology, that's how you're going to help everybody, just by making sure you have the right terminology, the right grammar. Education, we joked about how people don't like to read these days. It's all of these things to become the package of who you are, because who you are is going to rub off on somebody else.
Absolutely. Well, I think that was very well said. I was wondering, now I know you've written many books. Can you tell me a little bit about the book that you have here, or is that for the latter half when we begin talking about the military?
Oh, no. This is, this book is called Affirmations. Okay, Affirmations. Show them what they got, Vanna. But the thing is, one of the things that I do is just with Ugly, I always like to take acronyms and turn them into something positive. So this book, I call it Affirmations, because it's acronyms, but they're affirmations. That as you say them, that I don't just use a word. That, for instance, what I prepared for you, since we're talking about a little bit, touched about bully.
Yes,
bully, B-U-L-L-Y, barely understanding love, let alone yourself.
Wow.
See, sometimes the bully is reverse self-esteem. You're bullying someone because they've been bullied.
It's a projection.
And
It's a coping technique.
and so they don't understand love. They don't love themselves, so now they have to take that out on somebody else to make them feel less love. Oh, you seem to be, because you don't bully somebody who doesn't have anything.
Right.
You bully someone who seems to have it all, or what you don't have. So you want to pull them down and make them feel like they're not better than you. So that's what I've got bully meaning, and then following up with that. Thank you.
And I do know that about you. Everything that I think about is always an acronym.
But
they're always powerful.
And because you have to make things memorable for people.
And that they are. I think I learned about the Ugly years ago, and I still remember that.
Yeah. That was from '95. That was the
Okay,
speech
that's why
that
I
took
think
me
I
to the
saw.
World
Yeah,
Championship.
and I think I saw clips back when we were in Chicago.
Mhm.
I saw clips from that particular presentation.
Mhm.
So all these years later, you're absolutely right.
Impact.
Yes.
Gotta
yes.
have it.
Okay, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
No.
You had
There's
another good
no
one.
such thing as interruption.
Okay.
Because then the cure for bullying, a couple of pages, is choice. CHOICE. Choosing harmony over ignorance creates empathy. Choosing harmony over ignorance creates empathy. And I'm not using ignorance as saying someone is stupid. Ignorance is a lack of knowledge.
Yes, not knowing.
And so when you choose that you're going to be harmonious over, what did I say? That's called a brownout, y'all. Choosing harmony over ignorance. Yeah, when you decide that you are going to be harmonious instead of not learn, and again, going back to the bully, sometimes they don't understand
Right.
what somebody else is going through. More importantly, they don't understand what they're going through.
themselves,
So
right.
they've chosen ignorance instead of finding out what's going on in that other person's life. It's what's going on in our world today with the discrimination issues that are going on. It's really just a matter of us focusing on the differences instead of the similarities.
Okay.
And but we all like to say, well, in fact, the OJ said in one of their songs, they said, "But you'll bleed," because all of us have red blood. And I can't remember the name of that song, but
And I'm thinking, as you say, I'm trying to help you out. I got nothing. Sorry, y'all.
I got nothing. All right, but that's how I use the book. That's how I suggest people use the book, because it's just page after page with acronyms, and you can say them, and they become affirmations that you can memorize. And if there's a topic that you want to discuss, it's almost like having a concordance or a thesaurus where you can go through and pick a topic,
Oh, okay.
and then and there's an acronym for it. SISTERS, SISTERS, someone instinctively striving for trust, eternal relationships that strengthen.
Okay.
So it's about empower. Again, that's the piece I'm talking about, empowering people.
Yes. Can you go back for a second? I like the one that says smart. I want to see what that one says.
Simply marvelous and right on time.
Oh, look at that. All right. I like that. I'm going to get that on a T-shirt, a.k.a. Sporty King. All right. That's a great one. Well, we're going to go to a break really quickly, and then when we come back, we'll talk a little bit more about Sporty's experience with military families and how he takes a holistic approach in helping those individuals that serve. Now, for those of you that are interested, I will be hosting a free webinar this Thursday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's Central Time, 6:30. So again, this Thursday, I'm hosting a free webinar, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. The name or the title of the webinar is Reducing College Costs. If this is something that you could benefit from, you don't want to miss it. The target audience for this particular webinar is 6th through 12th graders, and of course parents. I don't do anything without inviting parents as well, because college prep is a two-way street. It's for students and parents. So make sure that you tune in. What you need to do is to register on Eventbrite. You need to do so by 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Thursday if you want to be a part of this webinar. It's powerful information, spots are limited, and I want you to tune in. One last thing before we close out is I have a poem that I want to conclude with, and it simply goes like this. You are great. You are a unique, new kind of person that the world has never seen before and will never see the likes of again. You are enthusiastic. You're optimistic. You're organized. You're a hard worker. You're happy. You're a master of yourself. You are a child of God. You're a leader and you're a big thinker. And blessed as you are with all these talents, there isn't a thing that you can't do. With God as your partner, you will never fail. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to share this episode.
Just like Jason. Back.
So for those of you who might have just tuned in, this is my friend, author, speaker, wonderful, wonderful individual that he is, Sporty King. And he's been dropping a lot of golden nuggets today about how he works with youth and helps to empower families. We're transitioning right now because we want to talk about military families, and he's done a lot of work in that realm. Also, for those of you who may have tuned in, you might have missed it, but want to let you know that today's show is actually dedicated to those that serve and those who have served, so the veterans as well. I want to thank you again, Mr. King, for being with me, and tell me a little bit more about your Yellow Ribbon Service Award?
Right. It's the program is called the Yellow Ribbon Reintegration Program.
Okay,
it started.
gotcha.
It's a Department of Defense program for families that are going through the deployment cycle. It just started in 2009.
Okay.
So what we do is before they deploy, we have and the seminar. It's a weekend of seminars, and it's usually at a hotel, never on a base, or rarely on a base, because what we want to do is get them a vacation weekend type of attitude, so that they, you can't say, look, I need to go take care of this. No, just focus on your family.
So it's the service member and their family together, almost like a conference, but a vacation setting.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful.
And the seminars are for the pre-deployment. They're talking to them about communication. So, what are we going to do? What is your preference in communication while we're gone? How will we stay together? How will we deal with certain insecurities, fears, responsibilities? And this is where we talked about earlier. The kids have to step up. In a family, and sometimes that can, the younger kids may be a little bit more clingy because they're going to be missing mom or dad.
Of course.
The teenagers can either decide, yes, this is an opportunity, or they can be resentful because now they're going to have to be more responsible.
Right.
There's just a gamut of
there's
emotion
a whole adjustment
that's going on.
A shift that's going to take place, right?
Yeah, and then so now while the parent is gone, the program is still supporting the family in the middle of deployment. And so they have programs for them, different types of seminars, not as well attended because what happens is the families are dispersed.
I was just going to ask that, are the families usually in the same area, but probably not. They probably make a special trip to travel there because the person is about to be deployed, but I could see how upon a deployment, maybe they're not going to be able to come in from St. Louis and New York and California, wherever those places are.
And that's where we have to really take our hats off to the family.
Yes.
Because it's not easy. There's a high calling on a military family. And even with these, one thing I always say to my groups is I say, service members, you enlist, you go to boot camp, you get drill weekend, and then you serve with like-minded individuals. Families may get to come to a Yellow Ribbon, go home, figure it out. Because there's nobody else in the neighborhood who knows what they're going through.
Right.
Because they're military families, but not just because they're military families, but because they're pride. They're prideful people. They don't want to ask for help.
Right.
None of us do. Nobody's really good at asking for help. And so, so there's a lot of things that, that we talk about in the seminars pre-deployment.
Okay.
Now, when they come back, we also have the seminars, and now we're talking about reintegration because there's what's called a new normal. How are things going? Responsibilities have shifted while that parent or that service member has been gone. And let me again throw that in. It's not just spousal relationships. If it was a single service member, the parent may have taken care of what's been going on, right?
Or they may have a child.
They may have a child. So now the parent has to switch the role. And now the conversation with the parent is different because even as a parent, you know how parents always say, I don't care how old you get, you're still going to be my baby. That's out the window.
Right.
Okay? So, because it becomes a different conversation. So,
it's a whole other dynamic.
Yeah, and it's great to see, to see them come together because they'll come to the weekend a lot of times where they really don't want to be engaged. It's like it's another thing that the government is asking them to do.
Right.
And so we try to keep the seminars positive and enjoyable. I said, look, you will be laughing in my class. Get ready for it.
No doubt.
Because there's research and there's real stuff. And I try to find that blend, and I want to lean more toward the real stuff.
Right.
Because research says this is how you feel, and the real stuff says, nah, that makes sense, but here's how I really feel.
Gotcha. So now let me ask you, can you think, I know you've done that work for a long time.
Since 2011, I've been on that contract.
Okay. So now, having done that work since 2011, can you give me one of your most memorable events?
Actually, you know what? It's when a service member comes up to me afterwards and thanks me, because especially a male, because again the stereotype is military don't share feelings.
Right.
So if a male service member comes up to me and is open about thanking me, that's a great win.
That says a lot, right?
That's a great
For them
win.
to feel compelled, because like you said, men are typically socialized not to, you know, say, "Oh, I really felt that, bro." Or, you know,
Right.
so they really have to feel it in their bones in order for them to, you know, have the gumption and the courage and confidence to come up to you and say, "Hey, man, I appreciate that."
Yeah.
So yeah, that's great.
And I keep in touch with a lot of them, become my Facebook friends.
Okay.
You know, because I told them that from the pre-deployment. I said, you stay in touch. You know, we're going to get you through this. And
Right.
so a lot of them stay friends, and that means a lot to me.
How does that make you feel overall?
Well, it makes me know that I'm doing God's work. You know, because the thing is, you know, what God sends us to do, a lot of times the public wants us to minimize our achievements and our power, and maximize our weaknesses. Well, I like to maximize my strength and my power. You know,
Absolutely.
people laugh at, "What are you so arrogant?" I said, "Well, that's because I'm so good." And then now, because if I'm going to say God is good, and if I'm made in the image of God,
That's right.
then I get to be good.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so, you know,
because you're God's child.
I'm God's child.
Right.
And how much more of an asset will you be to someone when you know how good you are?
Absolutely.
You know, you don't want the lucky doctor when you run in on that.
Right, you don't want the one that was a C or D student.
No,
Correct. I
no, you
understand.
want the
You
good
the
one.
yeah,
No,
that's
they
right.
could have been a C or D. I know you're going to sell your scholarship. They could be a C or D, but they could have a natural gift for healing.
Okay.
You can be terrible on paper, but you go to school so that you can go up from being that C or D student.
Yes. Now,
And
I
that's
believe in
where
working
you
up.
come in.
Yeah, well, yes, that's a portion of where I come in, because I believe that student has a gift too. But they do need to be a student
Yeah,
to
you,
work
yeah.
with me.
Well, yeah.
I don't
'cause
want
you're
you
not gonna
operating on
get-
nothing.
Yeah, you're not going to
With-
get
yeah.
your doctoral degree if you not. Yeah, they don't say,
Preferably, yeah.
oh, you an F, but you know what? You great with the scalpel. Come on. No, they're not. They're not going to do that.
Right.
Okay, so.
Right. Touche.
Yeah, which is similar to what again, my military members, you know, we send our best.
Right.
We send our
do.
best.
We do.
If you don't, you know, they have, when I mentioned quickly something called drill weekend, people may not know about that, but, you know, only 1% of our population serves in the military. And drill weekend, and they're in the National Guard or the Reserve, so they're not full-time military. And so drill weekend is once a month. They go and they have to go through these physical exercises and you know, obstacle courses and stuff, and keep their
Well, they gotta
weight
keep- right.
and all of that, you know. So and if they don't pass, they get demerits and they could get kicked out of
Yes,
the
I
service.
know. Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's
we
powerful.
we send our best.
So those of you that aren't watching, you may not have known that. Just like if you're in a certain profession, you've got to do your continuing ed. Well, the
Exactly.
military has to do the same thing as well. They've got to keep their skills fresh. So that's what drill is about. Now, before we wrap up, of course, I always like to leave you with some tips and some strategies that can help you. So for those of you that are from a military family, really quickly, I've got 5 tips here that I want to leave with you. So for military individuals or dependents, make sure that you know that you can use your educational benefits. Those of you that are in the military that may decide, I really don't necessarily want to go back to school, and maybe you have a couple of children, you can share your educational benefits with your children, and you can divide them equally, or you can give a larger percentage here because one is going to a more expensive school, what have you. So just know that you can use those educational benefits. Again, that can save you time, money, and definitely can empower your family. Tip number 2 is you want to make sure that you seek out schools that have various veterans resources. So some schools, for example, will have a Veterans Affairs office, that sort of thing. And you want to look at those schools because a lot of times those schools will have the resources that you need that speak specifically to your needs. When you think of some of the mental transition that needs to take place, and some of the emotional things that you have to adjust to just coming back from being or serving in the military and then transitioning into civilian life. You may need another level of counseling, or you may need somebody who can identify and understand completely what that transition is like. So those schools that have those services are definitely going to be far more adept at serving you. A lot of schools also, this is tip number 3, a lot of schools also have special discount programs. They maybe waive your application fee, for example, if you're active in the military. So that's something to be aware of. A lot of schools actually have scholarships for those that are active in any branch of the armed forces or National Guard, Reserve.
Yes.
So that's something to be aware of as well. You want to make sure that you look at schools as well, especially if you're looking maybe at a trade program, that sort of thing. A lot of the skills that you develop in your specialty in the military can oftentimes you can receive college credit for, in case you didn't know. And actually everything that we've mentioned here is in this book. So by the way, you can check out ewcollegeprep.net. The last thing that I want to mention that you want to consider if you're in the military or from a military family is to look at programs that have stackable credits. So for example, if you're transferring or transitioning out of the military and you're maybe going into a trade or going into a program, but you need to work like right away, the family is depending on you, that sort of thing, it's smart to go into a program that has stackable credits. And what I mean by that is, let's say you're working on getting or earning your associate's degree. Well, they might have a certificate or a diploma that you can complete that works up to that. So maybe several of the credits that can be earned or can be utilized to earn your associate's degree, some of those same credits can be used to complete your certificate. Your associate's degree is typically going to be right around 64 credit hours or something like that, but a diploma or a certificate maybe really only consist of maybe 3 to 5 classes. So those classes that you will have completed for your certificate or your diploma will roll over into your associates, but you'll have something that's completed so that you'll be able to get better paying employment once you actually transition out. So those are my 5 tips for those of you in the military. I want to thank Sporty King for coming today. Make sure that you keep tuning in. We definitely want to see more of you. And make sure that you share. If you found this information helpful and useful, make sure that you tune in next Thursday or each and every Thursday. And I look forward to having you around. Thanks for watching. Thank you.